What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another edition of On the Road to Victory. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and I hope you all had yourselves a fantastic weekend. It's a little after 9:30 here on a Sunday night, and we are getting ready for the 2023 NFL Draft. And we're going through each position, looking at these guys in tiers and ranks and which position, I think they're going to be taken at. And look, we're breaking it down when we have positions like the interior defensive line, the edge rushers, different guys that are playing, different roles. And I'll tell you, what I feel the top 10 best fits for the Eagles are after we take a look at what they have at the position. So we're going to talk about all that tonight. Obviously, the edge rushers are on the table, so we're all pretty excited, right? Interior defensive lineman was also quite exciting, but hard to narrow down 10 guys that I wanted to pick because there's a lot of guys in the higher rounds where it's like, well, yeah, we could. But then if you miss out, there's a lot of great steals at a lot of positions we've already talked about. We went through all of the offense. Hopefully you were able to catch all of those. So go check those out. If you have any thoughts on those, let me know. But tonight it's the edge rushers. So let's jump right into it. Appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Hope you had a great weekend. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on these edge rushers and where you think the Eagles should be taking these guys, or anything else that's on your mind. Let's hear it. But let's ride my man Vincent in the building. Yo, I appreciate you, my man. Going to keep doing my best. And we're going to get ready for this draft. Getting excited. The Eagles, 4 picks in the top 94. We've got 6 picks right now. So I think we all know the Eagles could definitely be trading, moving back, moving forward, acquiring more picks. There's a lot of options here. So we're going to break all that down. Let's jump right into it, though, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to look at these tiers and the ranks at all of the edge rushers in this draft, some undrafted guys. Then we'll look at throughout the rounds where I have these guys going. And then we'll take a look at the Eagles guys after that. So let's take a gander here. Love to hear your thoughts. But here are some of the undrafted prospects. And I couldn't even fit in everyone because there are just so many edge rushers in this draft. And there are a lot of good ones. So if you miss out on any of those top guys, maybe I'm sure we could add some undrafted guys, and it could be in the edge rusher department. So there are some names there in the undrafted guys. And then we've got some guys at the end of day 3 here, some round 5 to 7 here, and some intriguing guys here, man. Hampton, Fajoku, Pace, Mathis even. And I like a lot of these guys, to be real with you. Some intriguing guys like Land, who, I could definitely see as a Sam linebacker. You've got Gay there, Latu. Horton even, Beal I like, so Jose Ramirez even. There's a lot of names that I think Abdullah, versatile guys that will find themselves at home, and maybe some of those guys sneak into the 4th round. And we'll talk about a couple of these guys here, so don't worry, I'll break down some of these guys. Now you see some of these guys I think could definitely go in this 2nd round. There is a plethora of edge rushers in this draft and a lot of good ones, and we'll be breaking down a couple of these guys here, but some of these guys, more defensive end, some outside linebackers. You have any questions on them, let me know. But we're going to keep this thing moving here so we can get to those fits, break down some of these guys. Now, got these as round 2 prospects, but I'll be honest with you, definitely can see some of these guys going in round 1, and it really depends on what you're looking for here. And this whole list has a plethora of talented guys. All these guys I would not be mad at. I think some of them fit more than others, and we will definitely talk about that. And then the surefire round 1 guys, and I have no idea. I mean, maybe you like some of those round 2 guys better. Really depends on what you're looking here. But Will Anderson, number 1. And, beyond that, really depends on what you're looking for. But Tyree Wilson, Miles Murphy, Van Ness, and Nolan Smith, all very, very talented. And we're going to be talking about a lot of these guys here in a second. So do not fear. I will be breaking down most of those guys. But let me hear your thoughts. I want to know how you feel about some of those top guys, the middle guys. Maybe you've got a sleeper for me. Let me hear your thoughts on those edge rushers. But let's take a look at the Eagles' situation at edge rusher so we can get a better feel at what we're looking for here. So here is the entire list of guys. Now, I have them separated. You'll see the Sam linebackers, the outside linebacker type guys stand up, drop into coverage. Hassan Reddick, Patrick Johnson, and Kyron Johnson, who we were rolling with last year. You see a defensive end. We brought back Graham. We'll get Barnett back from injury. And you see, we've got a lot of guys on that side, Sweat, Graham, and Barnett. That's a nice 3-man rotation. Teron Jackson, Robinson, and Leo can, battle it out, see if they can make the roster or the practice squad. But on the Sam linebacker side, I do like the promise of Patrick Johnson and Kyron Johnson, but you could definitely add to that mix because Hassan Reddick only has 2 more years left on his contract. So who knows if he retires here, if he's getting older, whatever it may be, it would be nice to have a nice rotation, but also someone learning from him for when that time comes. So I think edge rusher is definitely something the Eagles will be looking at. And I think more of a Sam linebacker, that outside linebacker mold that we talked about the last couple years, desperately needed, finally got it last year. Talked about how important it was to go out and get Hassan Reddick. We did just that. So maybe we can talk about some of the edge rushers in this draft, and the Eagles will go out and pick up one of them. So let's break it all down, and I'm going to start off with some of the lower end guys, and then we'll make our way up. But I honestly have most of these guys that are top tier because, oh, yeah. And I had mentioned Jose Ramirez briefly there, Jonathan, for the fact that I really like him. And he is on my list of honorable mentions I've got here that I really wanted to put into my top 10 best fits. I really did. I wanted to talk about some of these guys desperately. DJ Johnson, Nick Herbig, I think I really like and would love to have them. But there were so many other guys that I needed to talk about. And, well, today, I'll be honest with you, it was a very busy day, and we were at a nice little family gathering, and I was literally there, like trying to make graphics, do things, so it wouldn't be too crazy when I got home. So try to put it together as fast as I could for you guys, and I was like, damn it, who am I leaving out here? So it was quick guns decisions, did not make the list. A lot of those lower-end guys did not make this list, but I think we could definitely be intrigued by them. To be honest with you, I don't know nothing about it. Hey, that's what we're here for, my man. Appreciate you. Any thoughts or questions you have, my man, get them in. Anthony, appreciate you tuning in. Hope you're having a great weekend. Edge on the other side of Hassan is frightening. I think it's frightening to other teams. Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, they were dominant last year. And, you add Derek Barnett now back from injury. That's a great defensive end 3. So excited about that side. And then on the other side, you've got Hassan Reddick. Beyond that, Patrick and Kyron keep stepping it up. I see a promising future for those guys. We talked about Kyron Johnson's blazing speed last year. I see a bright future, but I would upgrade that position. And I think you're going to see a lot of hybrid type players in this defense. We've talked about the odd fronts, just like we ran the last couple of years. So we shall see. Talking about the non-draft prospects, undrafted. Look, we're going to be talking about all those guys. Anybody you want to know, let's hear it. Edge rusher, a pick 30. Yeah, we could pick them anywhere across the board. There is a lot of talent here. So let's get into it. Again, this top 10 was insane to pick because I'm like, I need to talk about some of these top guys. And I'll just be honest with you. I left off Will Anderson. That's the only one I left off because I'm like, we're not getting him. You could try to trade it, but dude, that dude needs to be going in the top 3. Whatever happens, I just left him off because, well, I'd love to have him, but dude's definitely the top edge rusher in this draft. But let's get into it. And do not forget the honorable mentions. I love those guys. We talked about, Ramirez, and I'd mentioned, I think, Johnson and Herbig, Robert Beal out of Georgia. You talk about Isaiah Land, I'd mentioned. I think there's definitely a lot of prospects I wanted to, but Byron Young ended up being number 10. And I think, this kid, this is somebody I had to talk about with the 4.43 speed. Dude, his quickness, he's very flexible. He's got long arms. He's an instinctive guy, and he's got that high motor where in the fourth quarter, this dude's still playing. Now, needs to work on that upper body strength and how he tackles people, but he's only played for 23 games here. I think, 2 years at Tennessee there. He needs some work, but, man, the promise of this young man, I think, is where it's at. And Byron Young, to me, he's somebody that lined up, even a little bit in the B gap. He was all over the place. He's somebody that you could use a little bit, maybe at 5 technique, but I think, you want to use him as one of those Sam type linebackers, especially with that effing speed. You know what the Eagles like there. And, Hassan Reddick, 6'1", 240-ish, and he ran like a 4.52. So I think you know that the Eagles want speed there. This dude, 4.43, blazing speed. So I think the Eagles definitely be interested in this young man. And if he could fall into those later rounds, well, I would happily take that. You can pick up one of those, mid-round picks. We'll see. And we've talked about that, always keep that in mind. We're talking as if we acquire those mid-round picks when we talk about those guys, because we know Howie can always be adding to the draft picks. Now, up next at number 966, 256, the Army, Andre Carter II. And this dude, I think for me, you talk about the last guy, his production, he had 16 sacks, right? Byron Young in those 2 years. That's awesome. He's had 3 years here and he's got 19 sacks. And, Andre Carter is a beast of an athlete. Now, one of the things, he didn't have a high 40. It was like 4.9. That's not great. But look, he's still a freak effing athlete. The only thing that really worries you is he's in the Army. So you don't know if anything's going to happen there. But needs to work on another guy that needs to work on how he hits dudes, how he's tackling, his upper body strength. I think he's a project. Somebody need to mold. He's only 22 years old, though, and had 3 years there at Army. He's got, the numbers. Again, we take all these numbers with a grain of salt. We're talking about the young man. He is a freak athlete, though. He is fast for his size. I don't care about the 4.9. He is so damn aggressive. He's got those violent hands. He's got a very high football IQ. And he's somebody that I think you can use him as a Sam linebacker, drop him into that zone coverage, use him as that weapon. So I think he's somebody that would fit perfectly into what Sean Desai is trying to do here, and he would be perfect depth to Hassan Reddick. Now, moving along here, we have got ourselves a stud here in my man, Felix Anudike-Uzoma, 21 years old, so a young pup, 6'3", 255 pounds. Now, again, not the fastest, 4.73, so maybe not necessarily what we're looking for, but as mentioned, someone was a little scared on the defensive end side. That's okay. You can throw him there. This dude's a powerful dude. He's got great length. He's a versatile dude where I think you could move him inside at times. He's got good footwork, speed to power, his change of direction. He's got another high motor guy. He's a great tackler. He's got great pass rush moves. So this dude all over the place. Now, he did take poor angles from what I saw, and he could use some work on how he uses his hands, and definitely could use some work in the run game, especially if you're going to be trying to plug a guy like him on the inside. Now, he did his first couple of years. He spent a little time inside in the A gap. He spent a little time in the B gap. He's been outside the tackle. Now, a couple times they used him off ball, but not too much. So maybe one of those guys you could build into a defensive end there. Now, Josh Sweat, when you're looking at the size of what Sweat is, he's 6'5", 265. So you're looking around that range. So maybe you could add a little depth to that side, add him there. Don't really see him too much of a Sam, but you know what? With the skill set he has, you really could try to figure things out. And I think just versatile weapons is what this defense is looking for. Sean Desai is looking for these guys, these tweeners that are, they got some speed, athletic guys. And, that's pretty much the mold you're going to see that I'm looking at here. Now, up next, Will McDonald had a farm. And, dude, he's a freak athlete. Another one. But 4.7 speed. So you can't always look at the 40 times. You can't be just looking at the stats. This dude, when you watch him, he is a speed rusher. I don't give a damn what his 40 says. He's another violent guy, dude. He's got those violent hands. He sets the edge well. He's got long arms, very instinctive. He's a technical player. I think that for me, Will McDonald is somebody that I've seen people actually talking about him, another versatile guy that you could move around, but 6'4", 239. I'm thinking I want to try this guy a little bit out at Sam. But for me, he's the reason you see that star there, I apologize, next to those hurries is some of these times you only have 3 years on PFF to see that. So some of these guys have played for longer than 3 years. He actually was a 5-year senior, only 23 years old though. But you see, I only have 3 years worth of hurries there. But 34 sacks he's got there, 40.5 tackles for loss. Again, take the numbers with a grain of salt. And last year he had 6 sacks. The year before that he had 13. This kid, he's a stud, and he's a freak athlete, as I had mentioned. So a big fan of Will McDonald, and I think that the Eagles, man, we are looking for this kind of guy. Now, he doesn't really use his lower body, more of an upper body kind of guy. Needs to work on that late reaction time. And honestly, at the combine, he kind of looked like crap. So as much as I say he's a freak athlete, he didn't show that off. Maybe that'll work out for us. Maybe he drops. That would be something. Wouldn't be against, because I still really like myself some Will McDonald. Now, finishing off this bottom 5 here, and this dude, this was really hard to even number these guys, because I really like a lot of these guys. And BJ Ojulari. Now, this dude, he's got the 4.59 speed. We talked about Reddick having that 4.52. Sweat is 4.53. So looking in that range here at 4.59 with BJ Ojulari. And if you watch this dude, Oh, hell yeah. He's got some pass rusher moves, and he's a very fluid mover. He's an instinctive guy. He's got that great burst, pursuit. He's actually decent in coverage, very high football IQ. So this is the kind of guy, 6'2", 248. I'm looking as a perfect replacement for Hassan Reddick. I think he could work on his strength, getting his weight up, and that's okay. And you could use him as more of a defensive end, too. This guy, you can move all over the place. I feel like you could do the same for Josh Sweat if you wanted to. This guy, though, a little bit smaller. And I think for me, man, you get him on this Eagles team, get him in the bro bar and beef him up a little bit. This dude would be a stud. So sign me up for some BJ Ojulari. Now, this guy, I really think would be your Sam linebacker. I don't know how much you're going to move him inside, but it's going to be a very, multiple scheme defense. So you can use him all over the place when it comes to 5 technique and further out. I'm not moving him inside that, but I think the kid's got so much talent that it's hard for you not to want him on your team. He had 9 sacks last year, 8 the year before that. So this kid only gets better, and I would happily take him on the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, that was the bottom 5. This top 5, this was the hardest thing. Not only like picking these guys, but then like numbering them to try to be like, okay, how do they fit? How do I think they fit? Are they, and obviously I cut out Will Anderson. I'm like, you know what? We'll talk about the rest of the guys as if they'll be available. So talk about where we want to take them, how they look. So we'll break that down. But man, this was tough. It really was. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that bottom 5 and your top 5. Really starting to think they go on a draft. Hey, man, always begins in the trenches. So as I've been warning you for months, years, always offensive, defensive line are always something to look at here. And we've been doing that. Go check out that offensive line video. You can check out the interior defensive line yesterday and clearly edge rusher here tonight. Felix is good at a decent long arm and has a knack for finishing. Yeah, no doubt, man. I really like that kid. And I think he would be a stud. And they talked about Adita Abamware. And I think that, he's somebody that, I don't know. I don't see him as an edge rusher. I think you could use him inside as that 5 technique, 3 technique at certain times, pass rushing, defensive tackle. But I liked him when they were talking about him because I had them in around the same range. And I'm not putting him as an edge rusher. We talked about that yesterday. So, yeah, I'm a fan of Felix, and I'm a fan of most of these guys here. And I think that the Eagles, I have a list of so many guys that I'm like, oh, I'd be happy with that. Oh, yeah, well, in this round, oh, yeah. So I really should have just made this a top F and 30 fits because I really could have. But let's jump into this top 5. Number 5 here. I love this dude. Isaiah Foskey out of Notre Dame. 22 years old, spent 4 years at Notre Dame, 6'5", 264 pounds. And this is a dude, he's very versatile. Another guy I could see, moving him at that defensive end or Sam linebacker, maybe some 5 technique at times, maybe even a little 3 as a pass rushing D tackle. This guy, I really like him. He did some of that at Notre Dame. He had 12 sacks this past season, 11 the year before that. Again, take it all with a grain of salt, but this dude, he's putting up the numbers, so we'll give him that. Ran a 4.58, so he's got that speed. He's got those violent hands we're looking for, the long arms, the size, the speed, the explosion, the burst. He's got that bend on the edge. I think this dude, he's got some work to do. He plays tall at times. His change of direction at times is questionable to me, and his speed over power. I think that those are things that you can work on, though. So for me, this kid's a perfect project, and if you get him with your second-round pick, you miss out on some of those guys. Oh, yeah, he's fallen. You trade up a little bit or you get him at your pick. Dude, I think Isaiah Foskey, oh, yeah. And as I've mentioned, I think there's going to be a huge run on these edge rushers because there is a lot of talented ones here, especially, the guys we're talking about here, I really think are going to be phenomenal. Now, this next guy, this was hard, and I'm telling you, it was so difficult because there's so many good players. And I think that some of these guys will go higher, as you saw by my rankings. But I have Tyree Wilson listed next, just due to the fact, and again, I'm not somebody, I'm not somebody that takes, numbers and runs with it. You got to take it with a grain of salt. Now, he did run a 4.82, but he is very versatile. He's got great arm length, a great, strong build. He has great block shedding, change of direction. He's a great tackler. He's a quick dude. He's got to add some pass rushing moves to his repertoire. Doesn't have the greatest speed, though, and not the greatest against the run. But if you watch this dude, man, it's hard for me not to put him higher on this list, but it was like, okay, the guys that are in front of him, it's like, man, he had 8 sacks last year, 6 the year before that. I think for me, in his 4 years at Texas Tech, this dude's a baller, man. He's got a very high upside, and he had moved inside a little bit. You could use him as that 5 technique, a 4-3, whatever you want to use him for, pass rushing DT. That's 6'6", 271 size. He is built like an ox. This guy, he's really fun to watch. And again, I would be ecstatic if the Eagles got him. If he is falling and you're at pick 30, you could get him in the late 20s. Yes, if he falls to 30, holy, I would be jumping through the roof. But I think this guy could go in the top 10. I think other teams are very aware, don't give a shit about a 40 time. And I think this dude's going to be a stud. So therefore, I did not put him in this top 3 because, well, I don't know that he's a fit, because I think he could go before that, because I think other people are onto it. And I felt the same way about some of these other guys. So it is what it is, man. Take it for what you will. I love all of them and would be happy with them. Number 3, I felt could honestly be number 2, and I had him at number 2 forever. Don't know why. I think for the fact of what I'll talk about here in a second is why, but Myles Murphy, man, only 21 years old, 6'5", 268. Now that guy, he could not only help you on the Brandon Graham side of things at the end, but he could also help you, I think, not so much as a Sam linebacker. He's not much of an off-ball kind of guy, but outside the tackle, doing, things standing up, maybe dropping back at times, he could, but he can also play inside, man. And I think the fact that he's so versatile, moving him, from pretty much 3 to 9 technique, this guy can pretty much do it all depending on what you're asking him. But holy shit, if you watch him, he is quite an exciting player to watch with 4.53 speed. Oh my God. And honestly, I might even switch these graphics just because my notes of strengths and weaknesses, I have him above him, the next guy. But I really just think he's got it all, man. He's an instinctive player. He's got great leg drive. He's versatile. Those long arms, powerful hands, his pursuit. He's got a great spin move, uses his hands so well, and he's so damn powerful, man. I mean, he plays a little tall at times, and he could work on how he uses those hands for his block shedding. But I think, man, he is a great, and I don't want to say a project, but they're all projects, these young guys. But when he comes in, he's ready to play right away. I think this dude, if anybody gets him, they will be lucky to have him. And, man, if the Eagles get him, I think, when you talk about these top guys, Will Anderson and Wilson and Murphy here and the next couple guys we're going to talk about, there could be a run on these guys, but I think any of them really could be available. But if someone drops, if you go, Skoronski, or if you drop back, you get Bijan, and at 30, you can move up maybe in the 20s and grab one of these guys if they fall because the other ones went. Oh, yes. I'm thinking anywhere in the first round you can get them. Please do. And I have no idea where they're going to go, but there is so much talent at edge rusher. And I know the Eagles put such an emphasis on it with Hassan Reddick. Only 2 years left on his contract. I don't see why they wouldn't or couldn't do that. Now, up next, Lucas Van Ness. Now, I wanted to put Murphy in front of him. I know Van Ness only had 2 years at Iowa there, but this kid, 4.58 speed. So they've got that speed we're looking for. Very athletic. He can play all across the effing line, man. 6'5", 272. He's only 21 years old. He's another one that's got a great spin move. He's got great leverage. The way he uses his hands, man, and they're powerful as hell. He's powerful as hell. He is somebody that's really fun to watch. He's quick for his size. He's got those long arms we talked about, and his speed to power is something that's really fun to watch. He's another one that I think that, he works off of his blockers, his change of direction. These are things, he could work on. But for me, his balance, speed, some things they talk about he lacks, but he's got that speed. I think he just needs some work. I think he's a little bit of a project, but great leverage he works with. I think that this kid, give him a chance here, and he could be pretty fun. I've seen some people like, oh, don't take him. And I don't know that I want him at 10. I think this is the kind of guy that he's a better fit for me, because I think if those other guys go and we have a chance to maybe trade back, whatever it may be, I think you could do that, acquire some more picks, take him at 14. I don't know. But I really, really like Lucas Van Ness. And I don't know, man, Myles Murphy, Tyree Wilson, I honestly had them both in front of him at first, so it could go anyway. I had it originally Tyree Wilson, Myles Murphy, and then Van Ness. Then I had it Murphy, Wilson, Van Ness. Now it's Van Ness, Murphy. Well, Jesus, man. But that's how tough this was for me. Really like a lot of those guys. But my number one guy, the guy I like, and I see a lot of people are jumping on board here, and rightfully so. After that combine, this kid is a stone cold stunner. Nolan Effin Smith, 4.39 speed, man. That 40 time, he's got it, man. He's got great bend. He's got, for his size, man, at 6'2", 238, he actually is very strong, good against the run. He is somebody that is that prototypical Sam linebacker, the perfect replacement for Hassan Reddick. He really is like a clone of Hassan Reddick, can drop into coverage. He works off his blockers. His change of direction, his quickness is fantastic. Now he's got an injury history, and he could use work on those pass rushing moves and how he uses his hands, some of the angles he takes. I think another, young man. He had 4 years at Georgia, but some great players around him. When you're looking at stats, I know a lot of people are like, well, he only had 2 sacks last year. He had 7 the year before that. And, that's not what it's about in the Georgia defense. All those guys are feasting. It's not about the numbers. You got to take that stuff with a grain of salt, but he's not really moving inside for you. This is that prototype of what I'm looking for, the backup, the replacement for Hassan Reddick. And man, he is really exciting to watch. And it's somebody that I think the Eagles at 10 would be happy to take. Now, we've mentioned this. If Jalen Carter is there, you look at which is more important to the Eagles right now. And I think that would be Jalen Carter. I think Jalen Carter is the better player right now, too. So you go that route, but I'm not sure he's there. Now, if the Eagles trade up, they could get Jalen Carter. If, they're there at 10, Carter's not there. Some of these other guys aren't there. Think Nolan Smith, I'd be more than happy with that. Now, if you don't get him at 10, you take someone else, he's still there and starts dropping because some people are afraid of his injury, and there's a lot of talent that you just saw there. Well, then you trade and you get back because you've got 2 second-round picks next year. You've got 12 picks total next year. You've got 8 the year after that, so 26 total the next 3 years. Package them up, do what you got to do, add some talent. And I think there is a plethora of those edge rushers in this draft. So all about adding them in this draft here in 2023. Love to hear your thoughts down below, but that's all I've got for you tonight. What is going on, my man, Mark? Feeling Eagles take a running back, receiver, plus tight end, defensive end with first 2 picks and offensive line. Yeah, all about it, my man. It's nice. Yeah, man. Van Ness, Murphy. Yes. All. And Bressie from Clemson also is very nice, the defensive tackle. So we talked about those guys yesterday, talked about the edge rushers tonight, but I'm with you, man. We're going to take a lot of those positions. The Eagles have 6 picks, but I think, with Howie Roseman, we know we could acquire more. We're going to add to the places. Everybody, well, offseason's over. We're screwed. We don't have linebacker, safeties. Like, dude, we've got the draft, and we still have free agents out there. We've still got trade candidates, and you've seen all those videos. We can definitely. We've got $18 million in cap space after we sign our draft picks, after we sign Jalen Hurts to an extension. So don't let anyone tell you we don't have cap space. Go to the playlist. Show me the money. You'll see all that stuff, the updated cap, all the things you need to know. But if you're looking for any of the positions on offense, those videos are out. Quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, offensive line. Have the special teams out. So kickers, punters. You've got the return specialists as well in that video, so go check those out. Have interior defensive line and now edge rusher, but the rest of the defense will get done next week here, starting tomorrow, Monday, with the linebackers. Then we'll go through, talk about the corners and the safeties. We'll finish it up. Then we'll do our mock draft. We'll get ready. I'll talk about who my pick is for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. So let's go. But I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in tonight. First pick should be a project. Needs to jump. Well, it needs to be the best player available, and there are a lot of them. Hope you're doing well, my man William. Appreciate you tuning in, brother. My man Drew, let's go. Appreciate you, dude. Just got finished up. If you rewatch this, would love to see your comments. Love to hear who you like from this. Maybe some sleepers, maybe some of the top guys, whatever's on your mind. If you guys are watching this later, you can always comment down below. Would love to hear your thoughts on this draft, where you have the Eagles taking an edge rusher. If you've got thoughts on any of those other, positions, you can watch those videos. Let me know. You can let me know in this video, whatever the hell is on your mind. I'm always down to talk some birds. But I hope you all had yourselves a great weekend. I'll be back, though, tomorrow with that linebacker video. Until then, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. Hope you all have yourselves a great week coming up here. Let's go, baby. Let's make it a great one. The draft is so epic close. I'm going to try to provide you with as much content as I possibly can up until that moment. But let's go, baby. I can feel it down in my plums. Hope you're getting excited as well. But have yourselves a great rest of your night. Stay safe out there. And as always, say it with me now. Go Birds!